Hello, welcome back to ABI-DOS. I think we're hitting the end game. Well, I mean, we can't hit the end game the moment we hit the green levels. But I think this series is finally coming to a close. It's been very, very long, and yeah, I have never really expected this to go past, I don't know, 30 episodes. We're at 60, so I've basically already doubled the expected series length. Not because I, expected myself to beat the game a lot faster, but because I didn't expect to get this far into the game. I really would have thought I gave up somewhere around the end of the first page, because that's where puzzles got really, really hard. But I persevered. A lot of these I did solve on my own, so that's very nice, although with a bit of help. So yeah, it's about to end, so yeah, I guess that's that. I'll do the portal. I won't try and solve on my own. I'll make a new file for it and then I'll copy out a solution. And then at the very end, we will, I don't know, look through a solution together and see how it actually works out. I kind of got an idea of how it worked out, but I was never able to fit anything large enough to, yeah. But alright, enough about altitude plotter. That level has gotten enough attention on its own. Let's do neural link conflux. This one is very interesting. I have no idea what they want from me here. But yeah, save slot 0. Let's go. Okay, we have a lot of data here. In fact, we have 4 separate pieces of data, 3 different types of data as well, and then 1 final output, which seems to match the form of data given by 0 and 1. We have multiple page. Oh my goodness, everything is alpha. Oh my, okay. Instructional. So no teaching here. It's just instructions. Oh no, this is an example. I see. Checksum. Wow, okay. What in the world? This program processes input through a neural network to recognize patterns. Oh, interesting. Are we building what, an AI? Jeez, okay. Sure. The network consists of 4 layers. Okay, I see 4 layers of networks here. Each with a 10 by 10 grid of neurons. Okay. Okay, gotcha. Read S0 and S1. So S0 is a seed and S1 is an entry point. No idea what that means. As pairs. So here, for example, we'll read 4 and 0. The entry point selects a row in the top layer of the neural network from 0 to 9, which is the entry point, which is S1. S1 will select a row. While in that row, the positions of green marks, numbered from 0 to 9, direct which rows to read next in the layer directly below. Note that every row has 1 to 3 green marks. 1, 2, 3. Read the indicated rows layer by layer until reaching the last layer. Okay, what does the seed do? The seed purpose is written here. Okay, so first we take the entry point. We read that line in the entry point, which tells us which rows to read in the next layer. So for example, here in position 2, which is the third one, we have a green mark. So in the next layer, which is N1, we read row 2, which is this one. So we get 7 and 9. And then in layer 2, we read rows 7 and 9. Okay. So here we get position 2 and then position 8. So for layer 3, we read rows 2 and 8, which are here. For layer 2 and for layer 8, it's here and here. Okay. Alright, so here is our final layer, which is N3, sorry. The green marks positions indicate which values from S3 to sum to generate a checksum. So for example, if for row 2, this is position number 3, we read that position here, which is this 0. If the absolute difference between the seed and the checksum is less than 5, send a check mark, otherwise send a red hash symbol. the absolute difference between the seed. Okay. Send a check mark to S5, otherwise send a red hash symbol instead. Okay. Okay, so here we have a third position, a fourth position. You will get a 0, a 0, and a 1. Therefore, the checksum is a 1, because if you add the total values, you get a 1. Then we compare that with signal 0, which is a seed, which is 4, and find the absolute difference, which is 4 minus 1, or 3. If that difference is less than 5, then the checkmark is sent. So this works for the first pair. Okay, and it gives us an example here. So, I guess we'll also read the example. Oh no, this is the example that we just went through, yeah. So, okay, let's see if we've got everything right so far. S1 provides 0, so read row 0, which is going to give us position number 2. Okay, so read our row 2 from N1. That row 2 will give us position 7 and 9. So in N2 we read row 7 and 9. That will give us position R2 and position R8. Okay, read those from N3. From R2 we will get one at position 3 and then one at position 3 and 4. The checksum is therefore 0, 0, and 1. Keep in mind, depending on the entry point, you may need to read some rows multiple times. In such cases, you should process them independently. You may need to. Right, so for example, if I manage to read this and then this, then I'll have to read position or row 4 twice. What? Really? That makes no sense. How do I read row 4 twice and determine that? Like, okay, I guess. Ugh. Okay, that's really awkward, but alright, I sort of see how... Oh, there's so many steps to this. I'm gonna fit that all in here. Oh, wow, okay. So I have a 15 by 9 grid. Interesting. Now challenge mode is still fitting within... Okay, wow. Okay. Jeez, how do I even start this? I spent like 5 minutes reading the rules. Okay. So, can I use the same setup to read each layer or not? I don't know. And there are multiple test cases, right? Yeah, they're all the same, honestly. Okay. So we can leave 0 to the end. That 0 is meant to actually honestly just be comparing with this value at the end, meaning that 0 will only be interacted with at the very end of the line. We start with signal 1 first. Signal 1 will tell us which row to read in N0 here. So it's at 0, 2. Okay, we know that there are 100 bits in every layer, meaning we can find the first bit in every layer as just the layer number times 100. So starting at 0, then 100, then 200, then 300. With that, we can probably go layer by layer and use the pointer writer. Yeah, okay. Okay, so next question. How do we determine how do we determine where the green positions are? We can take their position and take a mod value, I think. Because all these, yeah, they're by mod 10. If you take them mod 10, they'll give you the position. So all of these are in position 0, all of these are in position 1, all of these are in position 2. Okay. Meaning, what I can do is I can use this number to find the row number, which is multiplied by 10. So 0 means the row number will be, or the position that you start off with will be this number multiplied by 10. So 0 will start at row 0, 8 will start at row, 6 will start at row 6, which is this row. Okay. And that's the only use for that value, right? Meaning I can just immediately multiply by 10. if I immediately multiply by 10, and I simply read that into position 2, then yeah, I will just get it into the right row immediately. I wonder if there will be any problem with that. No. So yeah, this will set you to position 90. Okay, good. I think I want to do something very interesting. What I want to do is I can actually pipe everything to the same machine, right? The same reading machine should be able to be used for all 4 layers, I think. Maybe the 4th layer is a bit different because what comes out is going to be this, which I guess is not too different either. But yeah, I'm thinking, what if I had a loop, somehow, a loop that occurs, that after passing through this and processing the information here, we only ever read, we will only ever read 1 row here, but for whatever rows we read here, the next row that comes up is actually just 100 multiplied by, it's actually just adding 100 to whatever value we had here. So I can basically just add 10, right? So this, for example, in position 9, will send you to position 90. But when the next thing comes in, for example, this is a real bad case example. Okay, so yeah, so for 70, for example, we read the value 75. If we take mod 5 of that, we will say that position 5 or row 5 is what we read next. If we then pipe them into here, we then get not 5 but 15, which will then prompt us to read 15 times 10, which is 150, which is here, right? And then if we, so this would be the pipe, this would be the entry point for layer 1, N1. We can do the same thing to obtain the reading for N2 by just adding another 10, because then we're adding 200, essentially. The reason why I add 10 is because there's another times 10 at the end, which basically means that whatever we added is actually supposed to be a tenth of what we actually get. And then for layer 3, we simply add 10 one more time. So I think it's a bit like this. So we start with position 7, we read at position 7, and then we basically start reading from this, right? Yes. Question is, how do I only read the row? How do I only read 10 values? Or is there any reason why there's no need to just read 10 values? It's like I want to pull out 10 items, right? So like could I just put down to call you 10 times? But it's not really to call 10 times, is it? Not only do I need to call, I also need to remember the position of these values. Right? So like, okay, so what I'm gonna do is, let's make this very primitive for now. Let's read position 2. Let's read exactly 10 of these. Okay, so there you go, that's 10 of these, and then we'll immediately throw away this value. Actually, this will work because we're going to read 10 of these on every single layer, 5 even multiple times. Okay, so this will actually give us 10 items, and we're reading for 173, or a green value. Yeah, so this will give us 10 values immediately. And then the 10 values can basically just be checked for greenness and go in here. And we actually do know the check for greenness. It's actually very simple, right? Is it? It's a duplication. followed by a triggering of a one-time conveyor. It's something like this. Of course, there's more to it. No, I don't want a red wire here, but... So you get this sort of thing. Yeah, and then we want to connect, not B, but to check for the color green. So this would send all the green things to... The green things are going to have to do something special. No. Wait a minute. No, that's not all we need to do. Because we also need the position numbers. We don't just need the values to go in, we need the position numbers as well. So the position number is actually going to be a lot harder to define, right? Because it's going to be further away to actually read. If we just set the U-bits value to the position, it's not going to work because they're going to be slightly off. So this will read 72 even though it's supposed to be from 70. So then I guess we'll just subtract 2 and we'll get the values that are correct. So you get positions 5, 6, and 8. Wait, but no, we want the positions 5, 8, and 9? Sorry, 5, 6, and 9? Because this 80 stops at 80. So this subtracting 2 causes you this. Oh, okay, I get it. Because you stop at 80, the 7, what's supposed to be a 79 becomes a 78. Oh, that's a problem. How do you solve that? I don't know how we solve that. That's definitely a big problem though. What if I had a pointer mover immediately after? What do I get? So all of these, let's say I change them to the variation of the input caller that doesn't. So you get 70, you get 176. Is this correct? Okay, I don't know what I get. You also get the 10 that I need, right? If I then read the positions, it's going to be slightly off. It's actually going to still be 2 off. Oh, yeah, the 80 is still going to be an 80, so it doesn't really matter. Okay. So that's still a problem. So how do I solve that? It's like I want a -1 instead. A -1 feels ideal, but a -1 is never going to give you the right answer. It's not going to give you the right answer for this thing. Okay, so it's like we somehow need to, I think, push this forward by 1 before throwing it away to get this to work. Yeah, okay. I mean, that's not too difficult of a step. We're going to be moving this counter afterwards anyway, so sure. We can then take mod 10 because this will give us the row number that we next read. And I think we might still have a problem. Is that we can't just read all of these at once, because then, you know, we're definitely going to have another problem like this. So, yes. Jeez. Jesus. Yeah. So what I think I want instead is to have a bit more space. And I want this path to do something else. Okay, I can think of a better way of doing this. Rather than having each individual track take mod 10, I will take mod 10 first, which is a universal thing that I need to do for all of these values anyway. Then I will do a holding cell because we know that. Do we? We know that 1 to 3 items will be holding, but we don't know how many. Oh, that's gonna be a problem. And we do need to read them all separately. Like in this case, we need to read position 7 and 9 from here. But how do I know? So I have to read them one by one, but I can't just... I can't just have a holding cell that like... Okay, what if I did a synchronizer type of move? Okay, let's try this. A synchronizer here will activate the release of some item. So right now we'll have up to 3. Isn't it the same problem? Hold on. Let me figure out how to deal with this mess. The goal that I would like to obtain here, to be able to read all 3 separately, up to 3 separately, is the first bit that comes in must always be just read. There's no holding on to it, just read it. And the way I can do that is by having a synchronizer here that is held. Another synchronizer here that requires one other bit. So there'll always be something here, right? When a bit comes in, it will release both the bit that's currently here and this bit, which makes this leave. And one bit over here will manage to escape into here. This will cause this bit to leave, meaning these are both empty. The next bit coming in... So I need to do this right. Okay, so the white ones are thrown away. The white ones we don't care for. So it looks like this. Okay, I'm just gonna show you what I'm planning here. Oh, this is a little awkward, I guess. Yeah, because this might be coming into... No, yes, okay. So we will have a problem. So let's see if I can find a good example here. Do we read the... No? Yes, okay. So we read this 1, 4, 2, it will be held in here. The next thing will kind of merge with it a bit too early. Yeah, and then there. The idea is that when this thing comes in, this will be released. When this thing comes in and runs through here, it will next do this. It will next be here, which then lets this pass through. But okay, then I will actually need some waiting time to make sure that the first bit coming out will align with this bit. Okay. So how much will you need to wait for? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You need to wait for 6. So 2. Okay. I can't just have you wait because there might be another green behind you that's waiting to catch up. So 1, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You want this, followed by this. Okay, so here, this will be held, so this and this will be together. This is always the first bit that comes in. So this and this will always be synced up. Because they are synced up and both of them have at least one bit on the other side, they will both be released. I guess one way I'll just run this through here to make this a lot easier for myself. They will both be released. This 4 will be held in here. It won't... Ooh. Do I need 3 synchronizers then? Yeah, I think I need 3 synchronizers. I thought 3 synchronizers wouldn't work, but let's try 3 synchronizers first. So this will let go. This will be held in. This bit will actually release this bit. And then this bit will... Oh, I don't like that. No, it's not gonna work. That's a bit too much. Okay. That's kind of the idea that if there's ever only one bit, if there's only ever one bit that's green, right? This will let go of it instantly, but if I had more synchronizers, it wouldn't really work anymore. It's like, yeah, this will work, but this 7 is gonna catch up. I mean, I could put another synchronizer here, but like, it just doesn't really do the same thing. Yeah, it just doesn't. Okay, synchronizers don't really work then. I thought it would work, but they work in very special cases, which is why this doesn't really help us. So the thing is how the question is still, how do I separate these to read them individually? Like here, what do I have to read again? 7 and 9, right? I just have to read 2 for now. Ah well. So like, let's say we read 2, then here comes 7 and 9, which are going to be read. 7 and 9 are going to be a big problem. Now it's actually still not going to be a problem, but when there's 3 items, there will be a problem. Especially now as well. Okay, fair enough, I guess. Yeah, but now it's going to be a big problem. The 2 and the 9 will be together. Ooh, okay. That's a problem. I feel like I've done something like this before. I don't remember how I solved it though. Yeah, I don't know how I did this. If I have more than one thing coming out of this area, what do I do? I have to read both 7 and 9, but how do I separate them until I can reread? It's like I can't use I can't use a chain, because if I use an obstructed chain, then whenever there's the numbers still won't match up. Like each of these chains requires something behind them to be activated, which means that if there's only one thing coming through, it's not going to work. So like, this 2 is going to get stuck and there's nothing to let go of it. Even if I manage to somehow have a B signal to like run through each of these, it's going to get stuck on the second one, and then it's going to get stuck on the third as well. What if I manage to make it so that this B was hit 3 times? Would that make a difference? Would that work for any set? I don't think so. Definitely wouldn't work. So while this looks like it works for now, the 7 and 9 is going to show a problem, isn't it? Yeah. The timing doesn't really work very well. Okay, that's a problem. It's a big problem. I don't ever want to keep like thinking about it. Okay. How to read. Okay, maybe the idea is not to read all 10 things at once, but to read and do separate things based on whether it's green or not. If it's green, it will run through this line. Well, no, because we need all of the greens, right? If, for example, I went down row 1 here, and I read 13, and I said, okay, that means read 3 over here. Then what? It's not gonna help. because there's also a 16 and a 19 I have to take care of. So I can't immediately go to I can't really go to layer 1, read row 3, and continue there, because I also have to read rows 6 and 9, but that will never be uncovered, because this will immediately bring me to layer 1. So there must be some collation of values independent collation of values. Could I build a system that writes? Could I build a system that writes 3 values onto 3? Onto 3. Ooh, that seems okay actually. That will collate the values, but how will I make a machine that reads them separately? Okay. I'm not sure. It seems like if I try to collate data, beforehand. Okay, I have some idea. The idea is that... What is the idea? I don't know what the idea is anymore. Okay. I have to keep these 3 values, 0, 4, and 7, before moving on. Is that true? I mean, if for example here you have to read rows 7 and 9, but how do I store that information? Do I have to store the bit? And if so, how will I store the bit and retrieve it? Is there any better way of telling what each green is? What if... That's not gonna help, is it? No, it's not gonna help. I was thinking, what if I took a green here, read it out here, return the pointer back to this row and continue reading? That's so tedious though. Is that actually feasible in comparison? I don't think so. I think I would either meet the same problems or even more confusing problems to solve, rather than just read these 3 values, keep them, and then read them independently. But the question is, how do I read them independently? That one I haven't figured out. It feels like a very simple problem. It feels like one I've solved before, but because we don't know how many there are is the problem. If we know there are 3 every row, then sure, but we don't know that there are 3 every row. Yeah, I have the values, but I just don't know how to store them. This is very annoying. But like, if we solve this problem, aren't we basically done? I don't know if we're basically done, but like, the same machine can be repurposed throughout. Almost. It can generally just be repurposed throughout the exact same set of two machines here. The problem is how. Do we need to add a maybe a counter, right? Maybe a counter? That will complicate things a lot, but to be fair, I already realized that once we're done with this part, we are basically... I wouldn't say basically home free because there's a lot more stuff we need to do. But I have a feeling the bulk is trying to solve this problem. The bulk of this, whatever's going to be on here, is trying to solve this problem. Let's see. I just... Yeah, the way I could do it is counter, add a counter. It's like, okay, one way I could do it is to have this sort of thing, right? Where going into here will activate this thing to be deactivated, will cause this thing to be deactivated, cause the next one to come to here. And the same thing happens. And then at the very end, it just re-triggers the entire thing. Is that going to help? And then each of these will be held individually until called. The problem is that these all have to be separately called, which is kind of a problem. Like, how do I call them separately? So right now, so 42 will be held here. 44 will be held here. Oh, okay, these should not be all together. I think A has to be a blue wire to prevent this from activating this. So this activates that, and then this goes here and reactivates everything. But you now have the 3 digits, up to 3 digits, released in total. Then you basically want this to activate this one, which, you know, I can pull off. This one has to wait for a bit though, because it needs to make sure these are all filled first. If this happens to be the very, like, number 9, right, then this has to wait until the 9th bit actually gets stuck in here before releasing. But the problem is, I can only release this single one, meaning that at some point this value has to be able to release this, and then this. But how do I do that? Also, like, I can't just keep wrapping through this, because like, your numbers can go very big. If you have 3 being calculated here, and each of these 3 rows that are being read each have 3 green marks as well, then you have up to 9 possible. Up to 9 possible. Hold on. Up to 9 possible. What if I made a grid of 9 to filter all the greens? It's gonna be quite challenging. No, I don't think that's it. But yeah, basically I have something like this, then the 0 is going to be read, and then somehow you're going to have more stuff being read out. But then you see, the thing is that yeah, it's just going to keep reading, which is not right. I mean, obviously this is still wrong, but see, then that happens. Like, what? No, something's not right here. This method of reading is also not going to work. In fact, this idea might not work at all because of the fact that you might have to read 9 separate rows, which is basically everything. It's possible to have to read everything. Oh, no, this is 10 by 10, right? Okay, it's possible to read 9 of the 10 rows you're given, which is basically everything. So we need a machine that can handle that. A machine that can read every single row. How about it does read every single row, and these numbers... Oh, but then we have like a very long iteration time. Okay, next idea. We read every row. However, we only accept green bits when the necessary rows are green. So we read everything, but only accept bits when... let me give you an example, see if I can maybe enunciate this a little better with an example. What I mean is that we read every bit from 0 to 99 in this layer. Then, because signal 1 says 4, we only accept when we are on position or row number 4. Even if they're green anywhere else, we will reject them. So only at position 4 do we read, and then we get 3 new numbers. We get a 0 from here, a 4 from here, and a 40 and a 7 from here. Then for the next layer, we will read everything again, but only accept bits from row 0, row 4, and row 7 as marked here. Is that valid? Is that too much? Because what happens to even the next layer? We then have to read 102, 105, and then 3 more bits. So in this iteration, we have to read a total of 5 bits from here. In fact, there are all 5 separate numbers. Jeez, we have to read 2, 3, 4, 5, and 9 from here. Jeez. Okay. Yeah. What does it even mean to say it presses them independently? What does that mean? Does that mean read each row multiple times in fact, or not? Maybe it does mean that. What could that even imply about the solution? It means that... Does it mean that I read instantaneously? Like the moment I get a green check mark here, I read the next layer, then the next layer, then the next layer, and then I go back and continue. Oh, so they want me to nest maybe. So what they maybe want me to do is they want me to read row 4, 40. Okay, move to next layer, row 0 for that layer, read. Okay, 102, read row 2 from the next layer. Okay, 221, read row 1 from next layer. This, add that value to the bit. Continue, nothing here. Go back to the previous layer. Continue reading from where we left off, which is 221. 226. Read row 6 from this layer, which is here. Okay, 365, add this value in. Okay. Read, there's nothing else. Okay, go back to the previous layer and continue reading from 226. To do 7. Okay, read row 7. Read row 7, you get this, this, and this. You add these 3 values in. Go back. Okay, 2 to 7, continue, no more. Go back again. I don't even know what row we were at here, honestly. I was able to give us only 2, so maybe it was this row, yeah. Then, okay, keep reading, nothing. Okay, go next layer, previous layer. Then continue where we left off, which is 40 to 44. Okay, now here, read 4. Okay, read, you get 145. Okay, next layer, read 5. Okay, nothing, 9. Okay, next layer, read row 9. You get this and this. Okay, now we're done. Go back. We were at 259. There's nothing else. Go back again. From here we were at what? Row 4. Yeah, row 4. Okay, nothing. Okay, go back. From 44 we move on to 47. So read row 7 from here. This is the big one. Then 73. Okay, read 3 from here. Read, then go back. Then whatever's left from here, read, go back. And then once we're back here, we start from 73 again. Then 74, we do the exact same process. Then 79, then do the same process. Is that what I want? Because that will in fact read every row independently. It will read the row as many times as it is said. Exactly. So there will be no merging or anything. Is that tricky to pull off? I don't know. Is it? It might be tricky to pull off. Okay, the reason why I think so is because how do we start where we left off? Like, if I went here, I read 44. Like, let's say I was here and I was at 44. I went down and did everything that was nested under 44. I come back up. Wait, hold on. No, I have a better idea, I think. Wait, but okay, the problem that I was thinking of was when I come back up to 44, how would I know to start from 44? Do I have that number stored somewhere maybe? That I start reading from again? That might be possible, in fact. I think that might be possible. So we went 44, we'll continue reading, then 45 will be pulled out, 46 and 47. So 47 will be pulled in, and then we'll do everything that's related to 47. Okay. No, but I was thinking maybe there's something better I can do here. Maybe if there are 100 values here, no, I can't multiply this by 104 times because that would give me like a 6-digit number that I can't fit in here. I was thinking of giving every possible path down a unique value, like how we've been doing in the past levels. But it doesn't seem to be possible because you have just so many different values. You might as well give... See, no, but the problem is that while there are only 400 values here, there are very, very different ways to get to a value. To get to a value like 326, right? You'd have to be at position... You'd have to be in a row that has a green check on number 2. But there are multiple rows that can do that. So in the end, the total number of possible paths to trickle down here is like 100 to the power of 4. Or something like that. So no, I don't think that's good. I don't think that's good at all. I was talking about, no, we're not going to assign a unique value to each path possible. That's definitely just not going to work. But I'm thinking that, it might be possible to do this thing that I'm talking about. Alright, I think that will be next episode's project. Big project. I'll try and write it down and figure things out, like logistically, what I need, what space I need. But yeah, that is our project for next episode, so we'll work on the plan then. So yeah, I guess that's gonna be it for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys next time. Bye bye.